Welcome back to another episode of the Dr. SuperCoach podcast. You're on again this week with JB, and I'm joined again this week by Pistol. Hello.
Hello. We're so close. A couple of days to go. Are you excited?
I'm very excited, but this is when the nerves start kicking in. You start second-guessing things that you haven't second-guessed all preseason, and you look into things you didn't think you'd be looking into. I've found myself having a look into Tim English's sleep schedule just to sort of separate him from the Sean Darcy pick, which I'm still lost on. So today we're going to be doing a Q&A, which is fueled by our Slack, obviously via our Patreon. So shout out to everyone who asked questions in there to funnel us through to this amount of content that we're going to deliver. And we'll obviously do the shout outs of those who ask questions as we go. But speaking of Patreon and Slack, Pistol, we have some new sign-ups. So I won't get you to read out the names because we know you're notoriously bad with them.
That's right.
But Flawless JB is here to read them out. Ben Walden, welcome. Rob Cray, Jordan Woolard, Mohammed Abbas, Jeremy DeCock, Anthony. Now, this is probably the toughest one, but I'm going to go with Tio Dulu. That might get me in trouble.
I feel like that's an L, but I guess we'll see.
It might get me in trouble. Dylan McPhail, Harry, Daniel 1290, and Brendan Rogers. So welcome all.
Oh, Brendan Rogers.
It's probably not the Brendan Rogers.
You never know.
Well, I think we can probably assume that that's not Brendan Rogers, but well, it is Brendan Rogers, but like which Brendan Rogers, I guess.
I think we all know.
Okay. On that note, we don't really have any other things to get into, so we can just jump straight into the podcast for once. Like,
beautiful.
Not a lot of housekeeping. Can you imagine?
How's that? We're like 2 minutes in.
I know. I feel kind of weirded out. I don't really know how to act. Do we waffle for a bit longer?
I think we can, but I was going to say, if you haven't signed up yet, you haven't missed out. There's still a lot of content that's going around. We've still got our tournaments that are coming up. The Last Coach Standing tournament will run again this season, and I'll be putting up the details this week. So yeah, there's plenty of time to still get involved in everything Dr. SuperCoach and SuperCoach wise. Okay, I regret asking you to waffle. You're not good at it. We're going to jump straight into the podcast questions. So we're going to start off with Crusaders, who said, I love Goulden at F5, but feel like it's too deep in the forwards. Would you choose Taranto over Rosie or just forget about Goulden and pick him up later? Now, I think the main discussion point of this podcast might be Goulden, because I think he's the one that's tearing people's sides up at the moment, for better or for worse. So in your opinion, where do you have Goulden if you have him in your side? Is it F4 or F5? I have him at F5 myself, but I also think he's the fifth best forward. He's not better than, I guess we'll call them the big four, because everyone knows who we're talking about. And really then it just becomes, does he structurally fit into your F5 or not, and how it impacts the rest of your side. If you can get it to fit, I think that's fine. If you can't, I think that's probably also fine, to be honest. So I wouldn't be stressing and trying to shuffle my entire. If you love your team and you're like, I love everything about my team, but I don't have Goulden, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, I love everything about my team, and I don't have Goulden. So
well, there we go.
I'm steering people towards, you just have to make your mind up. What do you see Goulden as this season? If he's that guy that is going to go 100, 105 plus, in your opinion, which I'm not going to argue anyone off of, because he's clearly shown a good ceiling in the preseason. If you think he's got triple figures in him this year, then absolutely get him in. But I do agree, F5 is where I'd be getting him into. I'd be sacrificing mid-prices or higher-priced rookies elsewhere to squeeze that in. I wouldn't be... It's obviously it's hard to sort of just speak generally because everyone has different structures, but essentially I'd be trying to get him in as your 12th premium, because he's kind of like a pseudo premium. Like you're not sort of guaranteed to get premium output all season. I don't think I like him as the 11th premium. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, if he comes out with round 1 and round 2 with back-to-back 70s, I mean, we're probably moving him on, right? So it's not a slam dunk, and then you end up with your 12 premiums. I think I'd feel a bit worse having 11, him coming out with back-to-back 70s, and then thinking, damn, I have to go trade him now, and then be stuck with, I guess, 10 premiums. That's assuming then your mid prices, you're going to nail a lot of them, and it just limits your flexibility a little bit. So yeah, I do agree. I like him better as my, I'll put in quotation marks, 12th premium slot.
Yeah.
But I guess I won't in this particular question argue the Goulden point too much. I don't personally love a lot of the forward rookies, so I'm happy going deeper in the forward line because I feel like they're worse value out of all the other rookies on the other lines.
Yeah. If we don't get more questions based on that exact conundrum, then we'll come back to that later.
Perfect.
But I feel like we will, because that is, I think, what is plaguing a lot of people's teams. So Ed is next. If someone put a gun to your head, I don't know why you have to threaten us. This is literally a channel called Podcast Questions.
You could just ask.
You just ask the question with no threats implied whatsoever, and we answer it. That's the meaning of the channel. So essentially, someone asked us to choose between Cogs and Owens or Goulden and Bruin. Which way would you choose?
Do you want me to answer this?
You are the guy who I'm asking the question to. Absolutely.
Okay, sure. I think in this particular case, I'd be choosing Goulden and Bruin because Owens is the worst of the options there by quite a significant margin. So I feel like that one chooses itself almost.
So where does Owens come from? What is the talk behind Owens? Is there any talk behind Owens?
No. He's just going to kind of play as a third forward or fourth forward, depending on the height they go with. So yeah, I don't see the Owen love at all. I like, maybe if he said Flanders, we could have a discussion.
All right, let's say Flanders. He didn't. So Owens, I just looked up.
He didn't say Flanders.
He's 250k Owens. So let's say that it's Goulden and Bruin versus Cogs and Cogs and Flanders.
Okay, that's harder. That's much harder. I would feel like that's Cogs and Flanders purely because you get a guaranteed keeper compared to potentially not a guaranteed keeper. The other, Goulden and Bruin's probably higher risk, higher reward, but it's still, you get good outputs probably from Cogs and Flanders.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Cogs and Flanders is where I would go on that one as well. Nothing against especially Bruin because I do like the pick. It's more so in the Cogs versus Goulden matchup, it could be within 5 points if Goulden does what people expect him to do. It could very well be within 20 points. So I think that's the main concern. So Bubs has asked, what is the current plan for any 1 or 2 week ruck injuries that we have early in the season? Considering the injury history concerns with Darcy, English and Marshall, should Radaglia be more highly considered as a player to have on our benches as cover?
I would just trade my ruck if I have a 1 week injury. Then, look, if Darcy has a 1 week injury, then I'm like, oh well, I kind of knew what I was getting into when I was selecting him. He's probably getting another 1 week injury at some stage of the season, so I may as well just jump off him now, and I'll pay up for wits or whatever I have to do to get a ruckman that won't miss games. And if English gets same thing. If he gets injured in the first 2 rounds, I'm like, oh well, you know what you're buying. And that's that risk you take. And the reason Radaglia I wouldn't consider, I would somewhat consider, but I wouldn't go out of my way because I just don't think he's going to score particularly well. So doesn't seem really worth it for me.
There's a chance that after 2 weeks we can go failed Philippou / Sheasel to Radaglia via the R3 and cover an early injury, and then after that you're essentially looking at sideways into another ruckman. But we know more information then. I think it's a lot easier to do then than it is to think about from the now. So I don't think it's a big deal personally, but there's a reason we've got 36 trades now or whatever it is. I think it allows us to play with a little bit more risk, assuming that you're not starting with 8 premiums or something.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm on board.
Great. So Mitch is next. He wants to know Sheasel versus McLean and Darcy versus English as the first 2 questions. I don't know if this is grouped in together or no. I assume it's. Let's just say that it's not.
I'm pretty happy with Sheasel over McLean.
Yeah, and
I think Darcy versus English is tough, but I'm
interested in this. Where do you see it?
I sit on English still.
Wow.
Yeah. I have Darcy in my side over English because I need the money. But 1 versus 1, he didn't say Darcy plus 40k versus English.
I agree.
If you said Darcy plus 40k versus English, we'd have potentially a different conversation. But 1v1, I think I'm taking English because it's one ruck versus someone that's got two rucks in their teams, and they both have really high upside. So, and they're both equally injury prone. So I'm going to go with the one ruck.
I kind of disagree.
You reckon English is more injury prone than Darcy?
I do. And there's a reason for that.
Same.
Hear me out. What's more likely to happen? A muscle injury or a concussion? Just from what we know. Really, you think a muscle injury for Darcy is more likely than a head knock for English?
Oh, I actually didn't know which way you're going with the muscle injury because English has both.
Yeah, I
know. But yeah, I think throughout a season, more people will get muscle injuries than concussions. So that's just why I did that one.
I don't know. I think that is
definitely more people get more muscle injuries than concussions.
I agree. But I think that line is becoming a lot closer, and especially with someone with the history like English. He missed last season. He missed a game after passing the concussion test.
The impact is worse.
I think he is more likely to miss games due to concussion than what Darcy is due to muscle injuries.
At least you know. I mean, they're a trade either way, and I still think it's pretty equal. So, I'm not using that as a factor between one or the other.
Fair enough.
It's close.
All right. Well, I'm on Shizu over McLean by a large margin.
Yeah, same.
Very, very long distance. Darcy English, I find extremely difficult. I think English has the slightly better ceiling, and I think he's slightly more likely to miss a game, as I just said. But that's my personal opinion. So I think your risk reward is literally right there. Is do you chase the points for the sitting behind your couch every time he goes down with a bit of a head knock or something, or do you just go Darcy, who you'll see is bandaged up, but usually just plays through it anyway, and has that less sort of scare factor when he goes into each contest?
No, I'm with you. The last one here, it says, if Bose gets selected, is he still a good pick, JB?
Okay, well, swinging to me, are we? You do this,
yeah, because I wanted you to answer it.
I think no. I think from what we've seen so far and the other options around Bose, I think it's if he didn't have a calf niggle, like I know it's just a niggle as well, but if he didn't have that, then you could still argue. But I don't even know what his role is going to be. So he played half forward for the first quarter of the pracky, and then he played some midfield time, and now Kolodajny and Duncan aren't in round one. So now does he get some defense time? Like, I don't quite know where he fits into that squad. I do think he's a good player. I do still think he's in their best 15-ish. I'll temper it a little bit. But he played that way in the pracky. He was best on for the first 10 minutes, and then Bruin and him pretty much played well for the rest of the game until Bose went out with the niggles. So. But with that as well, with the niggle included into the factor, he is actually just injury prone. He was at Gold Coast and he's already showing it now at Geelong. I think there are just players below him like Crozier, Liam Jones, even Stocker that have gone ahead for me now.
Yeah, I think what we saw is Bose half forward as a primary role and midfield as a secondary role.
At best. He didn't go into midfield until Dangerfield played exclusively forward in the second quarter.
That's right. And if that was switched the other way round, I think I could consider if he was named. But when it's primary half forward, I think that's a no-go for me.
Agreed. The next one is from Supercoach with DR, who is on Twitter, by the way. Go check him out. Hey Legends, currently deciding between the Ridley and Bruin combination versus the Dawson and Sheasel combination. Interested to see which way you would go. Currently going with Ridley and Bruin. I'm going to disagree with him. I'm going to side with Dawson and Sheasel. When I'm weighing up these guys, I tend to look at the higher side of the combination and say, who do I know for a fact I'm going to get as a premium? And I'm not confident Ridley is going to be a top 6 to 8 defender, whereas Dawson is a shoo-in. And then I look at the other side and say, which one of these guys is going to make money? Are any one of these guys particularly bad? Are they going to not make the money at all? Like if it was Bruin versus King or Bruin versus someone along those lines, like I'd be like, that's a big swing to Bruin's favour. But I think Sheasel makes his money. So I'm pretty confident on Dawson and Sheasel in that combination.
I think I would choose Ridley and Bruin. I think if I just
Really?
I'm pretty confident in Ridley. I mean, I don't have him in my current team, but I did.
Well,
I
that
did have
confident
him.
that you don't have him. Wow.
Yeah,
That's a high level of confidence.
I mean, look, if I want to put points next to each one of these guys as well, like combinations, how many points do you think?
It's not all about points, though.
I know it's not points; it's also about money, and we can take that as a factor at the
Ridley,
end. But
90 to 95. Dawson,
let's say 95.
105 to 110.
Let's do 110.
Okay.
Yep.
Bruin, 85.
Yep.
Sheasel, 70.
Okay, so you chose exactly equal.
Are they bad predictions, do you think? Have I gone over or under on someone that you would change? My maths isn't quick enough to hit that on the head. By the way, that was
I reckon that's pretty good predictions. I think for me, I feel less confident by maybe 5 points in the Dawson and Sheasel.
So if it's
combo.
worth that little, wouldn't you go with the security of Dawson as a premium?
Yeah. So I can totally hear what you're saying, but it's more that, I mean, it depends on your risk tolerance. For me,
I think I just changed your mind.
No, it's not. I think there is let's say it's a 10% chance that Bruin, averages 95 compared to 85. I think it's more realistic he can go 85. But there is a world in which he goes 95. And then but there's not a world for me that Sheasel goes 80 plus. I just don't think it's possible. I think maybe 70, but
is there a
80,
world where Ridley
no
goes 85 and
I don't think so. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident he's going to go 95. And I also think there's a world in which he goes 100. So if I take for my risk tolerance, and clearly with SuperCoach with DR's similar risk tolerance there, given he's gone with that combo, I think because of that extra potential upsides, you're already getting the 5 points. Well, in my opinion, and probably SuperCoach with DR's, you're getting the 5 points just from, I guess, non-upside of the Ridley and Bruin combo. And then you've got that potential that Bruin kind of explodes and Ridley kind of explodes. And then when you take all that into account, I think that leans me towards the Ridley and Bruin combo. But I do appreciate that it is the more risky starting
I'll say
combination.
one more thing. You're also not factoring in the other side of that, where Ridley might actually be a trade. And if you're having to spend a trade in this scenario, then,
and Bruin, both of them.
Well, she's also a trade. So, it's... that Bruin and Sheasel both got to be trades.
But Bruin might make no money, and Sheasel might make 150k.
But if we're just considering the top end of this, Ridley might be a trade, and if we're adding a trade into this equation, I think it swings it heavily back towards the other way. But essentially, it all depends on what you believe in Ridley, Bruin, and essentially Sheasel, because we know what Dawson's going to do. But those three guys, essentially, it depends on just where you see them. All right, so Clayton has asked,
good question, though.
A lock? Very good question. Is Gordon a lock? I'm not hot. I am hot on the big four forwards, and having Gordon F5 really limits me with future forwards. So I agree. I want to know what your perspective on this is, because do you have Gordon at the moment?
I do, at F5.
Yeah, so go for it.
So I agree as well that it does limit your future forwards. I mean, if you're expecting to get Petrarca, that's your F6 sorted,
Gone.
or F1, and then you have Gorn, right? And people are like, well, Gorn. And totally Gorn could be huge. And then we're not even considering people that might get it. I'm just going to throw out names. It could be like a Parker, there could be a Degoe, there could be, I don't know, a Dangerfield, whatever, just like random people down the line, the Bulldogs midfield or whatever it might be.
Mills based on the first pracky.
Yeah, Mills. That would be enormous, right? So the problem is that does limit you. However, that also assumes that all of your forwards that you've picked, or the 5 that I've picked, are going to play 22 games, and I'm not going to have any reason to trade any of them out. And if I don't, I mean, great. But I think the more likelihood is at some stage, one of them cops in a knock, and I have to trade one of them out to Gorn or whoever is that sort of person. So I'm not putting that much weight into it.
But there could be 3 good intruders.
There could. There totally could be. And I think then you get to the bye and then you reassess, how your big guys are going and if it's worth trading one of them out. It's not ideal. I will totally admit it's not ideal. And I was very strong at the beginning of the season of, hey, you don't want to load your forward line because because of these intruders. And I think that is the ideal play. It's just I have such little faith in the forward rookies, and the rookies are dictating my structure. I have Bruin at F6, JB. Like, I hate the forward rookies.
That's not crazy. Even, I'm not that low on them. So you don't own Sheasel at all?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
I don't like paying 200K for a forward at the worst club in the AFL. It just doesn't sound. I get that he's a special player. It just sounds bad. If you say it like that, and you put it on paper,
most years we do that, right? Because the best draft picks, generally without father-son cheaters like Collingwood, are from the worst teams, and we do it every single season because they're the most talented guy in the draft.
But I don't think I would pick Horn Francis again. Like, he made 107K. I wouldn't pick him again if I had my time again.
We didn't pick him expecting him to be half forward for the season, but yeah, I do agree.
But I mean, I was expecting him to have a better role than Sheasel.
But you still picked him though, didn't you?
Yeah, because I thought he'd have a better role. I thought it was like, it's going to be a bit more of a mid.
But Sheasel, in my opinion, is better in his role than the bad role that Horn Francis had.
I do agree.
Is also a factor. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I do agree. I just think Sheasel's got potential to make 120K instead of 150K, and I'm like, I feel like I can get 120K out of a different position or more.
Yeah.
And I'd rather do that. So that's why I'm like, I mean, to be fair, if I had to pick one forward rookie that I liked, it's Sheasel. Like, yeah. It's a hard argument because if I change my structure last minute, I'm picking Sheasel.
Yeah, I get you. No, it's okay. I'm not asking you to lock yourself out of any specific players.
But every other one I hate.
Right, so in my opinion, I'm okay with having Sheasel. He's my F6, and Bruin is my F5. If I really hated Sheasel or hated getting into the rookies that much, I would try to potentially get to Flanders, which is only a 50K jump or so.
Yeah.
But regardless, I have the same issue with Gordon being F5. I think it limits you from the guys who are coming in. However, I will counter myself here and say that if people are intruding, unless it's like a Bont situation, which does tend to happen, there's generally one or two that come through that are like still in very good roles. But these guys are going to be playing less midfield time than what these big four are. So these big four, essentially, if they all started as like, you can't say if they all started as the reverse because I'd need to, but the fact that they're all starting as forwards, they're all acting like intruders because none of them are playing forward. Dunkley, Taranto, Rosie, Canelio all have prime, predominantly midfield roles. So they're already four intruders. So you're not fading any of those four guys. And then Errol Gordon, you just have to decide, is he good enough in his current role to be better than an intruder coming in who's clearly playing too much up forward? Or is he just going to be pushed out? But like I said earlier, 36 trades gives you good scope to make a sideways. And if he's just an experiment gone wrong and he's averaging 90 flat and a good intruder comes through, I don't think it's the end of the world to sort of make it sideways for him up. So I don't know. There are two sides to the coin. I just don't think he's going to be 100 plus, so I'm avoiding him for that reason. So that really comes down to you having to ask yourself that question.
Yeah, so I just think I'll put you on the spot. Like, if Gorn does get forward status, let's say he's doing the 50-50 split.
Yep.
Like, realistically, what average do you think he will have for a season?
Yeah, still like 105 to 110.
Right. So I'm a bit lower on Gorn over across the year. I also think there's still a rest risk depending on how they're tracking. I'm not convinced, like I'm not 100% convinced that in total points Goulden won't outscore Gorn. So I'm not, if I was 100% certain, then I probably wouldn't pick Goulden. But if I'm not sure, then I feel like, well, I think Goulden will get to triple. Like, I think he'll average 100. In which case I may as well pay 470K for it, which makes it a bit of value. And I'll wait and see on Gorn. And if I'm wrong, then I'll fix it up at the buy. I guess that's basically how I'm looking at it.
And I think that's fine. You just have to put yourself firmly in a camp. You can't, like, relying on us to say, oh yeah, just get Gordon, he's an absolute lock. Like, it's just not going to happen because as you can hear, I'm not on him. Pistol's on him. And that's how we can have this argument. There are going to be people on both sides. You just need to pick your side, essentially. Mark is the next guy. He's asking Jack Bowes versus Hunter Clark.
I mean, Hunter Clark?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm not super convinced. It might still be Jack Bowes, but I don't know. Get yourself out of this position, I guess. So
it's not a great price.
I would honestly spend down and get either of the two Bulldogs rather than going
or Stocker.
Or Stocker, and then trying to spend up elsewhere, like maybe bolstering up your bench or something. But I'm not huge on either of those two options. Troy has asked, who is the best value star in your opinion between Bruin, Worpel, Ash, or Callahan? All options at F5, or in Bruin's case, also F6. I think that meant M5.
Yeah.
Also, McKenna versus Crozier. If you can only choose one, I've locked in Liam Jones, Constable, and Jinby. All right, let's start. So do you want to rank Bruin, Worpel, Ash, and Callahan, or do you want me to rank them and you go after me? What do you want here?
I'm happy to go for it. I feel pretty confident on my order.
Yep, go.
I think I would have Bruin. I'm biased. I've got in my team. Bruin, Ash, Worpel, Callahan. That's my order. How do you see it?
Pretty much the same. I'm Ash, Bruin, Worpel, Callahan.
Oh, Ash above Bruin. Okay.
Yeah, just marginally. I have both in my team.
Are you saying it from a midfield only perspective, or are you taking into account that Bruin's got the DPP already? And
I'm saying because he's selecting them at M5. I know he said Bruin can go to F6, but I assume
that's why he said it.
Yeah, right. But I assume that's like getting Sheasel out, which I don't think is necessary because I've got Sheasel in my team as well. So
right.
So no, I think Ash marginally, but I'm super confident in Ash's role, and I like the DPP that Ash will open up after round 6 as well. So, which I think is slightly underrated between the defense, especially if most of us are going weak in defense. I think Ash offers a pretty good outlet there after 6 weeks. McKenna versus Crozier. I think this one's quite easy for me. Yeah.
Crozier.
Big time. So what do you see McKenna averaging this year? I was having this discussion with someone earlier.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he could do more than 60, but I think it will be closer to 55. What about
55? You? Wow. Yeah. See, I've got him projected at around 60 with a best case scenario of 70. But
wow, that's high.
Well, the role is just so good. Like
the role is good. He's been out of the game a while.
I know, but it's so hard to not average decently enough in that role. But look, don't get me wrong, 55 wouldn't knock me off my chair. But I think the role has a very safe floor, and I think around 60 is probably where that is. Whereas an upside of 70 is like if he starts looking good again. You know what I mean?
I think he could start slow, and that's where you make your money, and that worries me.
Yeah.
He might end up with 70 at the end of the year, but I think in that first 6 to 8 weeks, if he's starting slow, that's not ideal.
Whereas Crozier is just like a 75 average. That's just what he does.
Yeah.
Super confident on that. Only Reds is the next one. He has admitted to being a bit of a casual, but he's looking at Caleb Sarong or Sam Berry. Who's the better value, or is there someone else likely to average more?
Gun to my head between those two, I guess, Backer Berry breakout, but I mean, I wouldn't pick anyone in this price range. I mean, I guess Degoe. But I don't like anyone.
They're around the high 400s.
Yeah.
So what is that close to? What can he go up to from there? I think it's you want to go up to Tom Green if you don't have him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, down to who's closest?
I'd go. Ash is probably closest.
Yeah.
I mean, I
agree. Sam Berry's the guy that I like more, just because in that midfield role he did well. I think if Sam Berry was forward eligible, he'd be on a lot of people's lips this year.
I'd probably pick him over Goulden.
Yeah, genuinely. But being midfield only is what hurts him. But yeah, I'll try and find a way to get out of this price range. I think Lockie Whitfield's actually probably the best player in this price range at 473.
That's probably right.
Yeah, not someone who I'd also sign up for, but. Genuinely try and get up or down. There must be rookies that you can shift around to sort of get that going. Fionn has asked, or Finn has asked, English versus Darcy analysis, please. So we've sort of had this discussion. You're on English if the money's not a factor, but you've got Darcy in your team.
Yeah.
I am happily on the fence. I was on Darcy for about a week and a half. and just today, changed to English, and I don't know why. I think the upside really just catches my eye. The solo ruck, having Marshall and English both as solo ruckmen, just getting like huge reps in the middle, whereas like Jackson and Darcy, I think Darcy still gets 70%, which is fine. It's more than enough for him. But it's also enough to, like, if he's having a bad 60%, usually like you can rely on 20-25% of the good stuff to just get him over the line. Whereas like if he only gets another 10% of the stuff, like do you know what I mean? It really just, it can hurt their floor a little bit when there's another ruckman doing their thing. But I really do believe in Darcy. Like, I have a lot of belief that he's going to go 115 plus this year. So I think you can't go wrong. You have to just go back to your risk appetite on this one. Yeah,
honestly, I would still choose English over Darcy if I need that money to upgrade Sincotta to Cowan. That's basically all I did with my side.
Okay, fair enough.
But I will pick neither.
Is it Sincotta or Chincotta?
I have no idea. Don't listen to me how to pronounce names. If Mason Cox isn't named round one, I'll pick Darcy Cameron instead.
Yeah, I agree actually, but he will be named.
Yeah.
Adam L is asking, is one premium defense then Yo D2 running too thin down back? And Lord, I hope not. That's been my structure for many, many weeks.
I made a team today with Yo at D1 and it looked okay.
I've seen several teams go through my Team JB chat with Yo D1 and they all look better than my side, but I can't stomach it myself. But Yo D2, I think absolutely is okay. We've got enough of those 200k guys to hold us up there. And if you can run a little bit thicker on the bench, because I personally, we need to have a discussion about Wilmot at some point and potentially Chesser as well. But I hate both of those options. If you can get someone like McKenna, who's going to play, most of the games this year on your bench, I think that will give you a bit of that security back if you're worried. But I get that that's a bit of a stretch money-wise for people. But Wilmot and Chesser, if they're not asked about, we're going to...
Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to just talk about it now?
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, let's do it. So let me start. Wilmot he's playing on the wing because McKenna's in their team and they've sort of tried to keep Wilmot in at all costs. But he's a rookie and he's playing on the wing. And when do those guys ever last more than 5 games in the AFL without getting dropped? Because the wing
Callahan.
The wing is so difficult to maintain and hold down, especially for rookies. And if he does hold his position, when do they ever score well?
They don't. I wouldn't expect him to score well.
So do you have Wilmot in your side?
I do. He's on my bench.
So why? I know, is it just a lack of options? Is that literally it? Or should we be trying to find the money for McKenna? Because I have found the money for McKenna and I feel amazing about it. But am I overreacting the other way?
I think McKenna is better than Wilmot, but I don't think it's massively different, only because I'd be still worried that if McKenna doesn't perform, I do think he can be dropped. I don't think he's undroppable. I actually think I prefer Chesser over both.
So I've got Chesser in my midfield is where he sits at the moment because I like that swing. But no, I do agree.
So do I. And the reason I say that is I just think the Eagles will want to get games into Chesser, even if it's throughout the year. Like, he might be in and out, and he'll be a slow burn, but I think he'll make money, and I feel like it's a good swing to have in your midfield bench. So I popped him there. Some people have
Wilmot on the field.
No, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
Wilmot should get round one. I'm quite sure he'll play. How long, as you said, how long's he going to last? I don't know, but it also feels like a player that might be in and out of the Brisbane side, and I've got 2 of those. It doesn't feel great, but I don't have a better option, and I think I would choose Chesser down back and then a better mid-rookie if there is one.
Okay, wait. I've got one for you then. What about Hollins versus McKenna?
I probably would still pick McKenna.
Yeah.
I feel like Hollins... I really rated Hollins, what I saw. I thought he was really good running up and down. But at the end of the day, it's still a rookie that could get dropped with a couple of poor games. It's not a mature body like McKenna. I mean, I know I just said he might get dropped with poor games as well, which is true. But you already know with the Blues, Akers has got one wing, so there's only one real slot available for Hollands, and then you have Walsh that's coming back in the first month, and I know he doesn't play specifically on the wing, but it does require a bit of a team reshuffle, and Hollands for me is probably on that fringe, probably the first player out.
Yeah,
so if Walsh is going to come back, someone has to go out. I mean, maybe there'll be an injury and Hollands will survive and play 10 games in a row, and that's great, but I don't like banking on that, knowing there's someone coming back to push him out potentially.
The thing with wingers is they're generally good at like a few different positions, like high half forward and half back, and that scares me in terms of potential sub risk when wingers fall out of the squad, but they're not like quite
Holland sub risk massive.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. But to answer your question, Adam L, to be specific, I think it's absolutely okay to be running that, but I would just make sure that the guys that you're fielding aren't the Wilmots and the Chesses. Constable, I think, is the only 123k rookie or below that I would field, and then have a bench of Cowan and, I mean, ideally, I think it's McKenna / Chesser on that bench, but I can understand that people have to go Wilmot, but I hope there's a get out strategy for that because it does concern me. But as long as he's not on your field, it's salvageable. Now, Nate has asked, what's more important, having a balanced starting team of premiums, mid-prices, and some rookies, or fitting in more rookies that will make money at the expense of premiums and mid-prices? That was a mouthful.
I'm confused.
Depends. Yeah, I guess it depends.
What is this question saying?
So I think he's saying, is cash or points more important? And the answer is that it's just the balance.
Yeah.
So for reference, I've got 11 premiums right now, and then I've got about 4 or 5 mid prices and the rest rookies. And I think that's a perfect balance of being able to pivot a failed player from any of my lines, premium midfielder or a mid pricer or rookie, to one that's been really successful, as well as actually just having a good balance between points on field, cash on bench, and premiums just doing their thing, who are also half decent value. So no, it's all about balance. All about balance. You can't start a 24, 22 rookie team.
Yeah, no, I've got the 12 with Goulden sort of premium structure, but I'm also fully expecting there to be mass changes at the end of before round 3, and probably going back down to 11, because all these random players pop out with back-to-back tons, and I'm like, got to get these guys in. So I think
who was it last year? There was one last year that started with 2 big tons, and then
Hewitt.
No. Oh, yes, but no, there was a mid-price I'm pretty sure we got on that started with like a couple of big tons, and then they fizzled. I can't remember who it was.
Was it Sherry? Oh, no, I mean, most people had Sherry.
No, yeah, we had Sherry. I can't remember. That's okay, we'll move on. The next one is Catface has said, hello, mates. The name Jack Bowes reminds me of a gift present being unwrapped on a small panel of wood near the Titanic. I've gone cold on his selection because I doubt he'll line up in the centre. How do you feel about Bowes? I guess we've already had this discussion, but just all in all, Bowes, not versus anyone else, just Bowes as an actual selection, I think you and I are both very cold on.
Yep.
Logan is back. I think he asked one earlier. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I just like Logan. I just see him everywhere I go. Is Sheasel F5 Poe or Philippou F6 too thin? Ashcroft, McKenzie, and Stockage and be the last 2 on other lines for context. Yeah, I think it is. I don't like Philippou at F6. I don't mind him at F7 if you want to spend the money there, but I don't like him at F6.
Well, I've structured my entire team to not have Sheasel and Philippou, so I'm the wrong person to ask with this question.
No, you're the right person to ask. You sound like you've obviously looked into it.
I don't want Philippou on my field. I think it's real bad, and that's why I've gone so heavy. I mean, he might be fine. Like, I could be completely wrong, and he might have those spike games, but Saints, small forward, it sounds bad to me. It sounds real bad to me. So
it
not
genuinely
on my field.
To me just sounds like Rochelle Part 2.
Yeah, and that wasn't fun. I didn't have a good time.
No, it wasn't enjoyable at all.
No.
Anthony is next. He said, considering we'll likely get a few DPP changes, he's running 5 deep too many. We've definitely spoken about that.
Yeah.
He said, who drops out? In my opinion, it's Gordon. I think all the 4, like I said, are already intruder level forwards. So I don't think you want to fade any of the 4. McCatface is back. Tanner Bruin is a very attractive man. Am I letting my bias towards his appearance cloud my judgment? He's currently sitting F5. Would you be considering him or Stupid Sexy Flanders? So I suppose we haven't had this comparison yet, Bruin or Flanders. So we actually haven't really spoken about Flanders at all. So where do you sit on him? And I know I've watched his role closely. I think you've watched his role closely. I don't know if you saw the pracky. I think you did.
Yeah, I did. I went back and watched it.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on Flanders? Because I think you and I have the same opinion on this one.
I think he played his role to pretty much perfection, and I just didn't like his role. So I guess you can take from that from your will. Is it sustainable to play your role to perfection every week? I guess if you're like super good, but I don't know if Flanders is at that level and capabilities to play that well every week from that role. And for me, that just means that if he's unable to do that, then he'll end up... I mean, look, at the end of the day, I know SuperCoach points in the preseason don't matter that much. I think he got like 97 or something like that. And he played pretty much as well as I think you could have played in that role. So what happens when you play badly in that role? You get like 55?
Yeah.
And
probably.
That's not good. So that scares me. Whereas at least Tanner Bruin, if he's not playing as a CBA mid in a Geelong side, half forward, I get how I just said that it's not a great role, and it's not. But half forward for Geelong versus half forward for Gold Coast feels like a really big difference.
So I do a good comparison here. So if you look at high half forwards in the past averaging well, the list is essentially down to 2, and it's Dylan Moore and Zach Butters. And the thing that those guys did really well was keep the goals ticking over. Flanders relies purely on, well, not purely on possessions, but the fact that he didn't kick a goal in the last pracky kind of actually does say purely on possessions.
Yeah, purely on possessions.
And I don't think that's a sustainable role to rely on possessions to get a good enough average. At best, I think he's really up and down with his scoring. And I think he does make his money over time, but I don't think it's with any speed whatsoever. And I think he also has bad on-field scores as well. What was that noise?
I had my nose cauterized and it's running like a tap, so my apologies.
I thought you were giving like a sort of freight train type of noise, like he's gonna make money really slowly type of thing.
I'm trying to stop my nose from bleeding.
Okay, do you? I apologise.
No, it's all good.
Okay,
it's not bleeding. But I guess I got a question for Flanders for you. Like,
for Flanders or for me? Because we don't have Flanders here.
For Flanders, so you're gonna have to try your best to answer. But
okay, I'll jump in.
What do you think his best average could be?
I don't want to sound harsh, but like 75.
Yeah, I was going to say 80. So we're in the similar ballpark. I think some people are like, well, he could, average 95 because he went like that high in the preseason for both games. I just think it's like way overs.
Yeah. I will say though, the role, I think people thinking, we need to see how he plays with Touk. The role was pretty close to what he'll get with Touk Miller in the team. Maybe he gets less than 6 CBAs. Maybe it goes down to like 4. But like essentially, he relied on the ball coming to him off out of the CBA onto the flank, and that's where he made his money. That's where he got his possessions. So the role essentially won't change. So if you're worried about the role, like he played CBA mid, he's not going to do that. That wasn't the case. So I think that's quite safe.
I still think like, for me, if I need the money desperately, I can see myself choosing Flanders over Sheasel because I'm not massively high on Sheasel, but I also don't think it's like you pay 50k more for Flanders and you probably get 50k less out at the end of the day based on the averages, and it averages out kind of the same. I'm not expecting one of those picks to be kind of much better than the other. I think they're both the same.
Okay, Blackie White is next. He's saying, this is similar to what we've discussed. How many forward DPP premiums are we expecting? Was last year a one-off or a reasonable indicator as to what we can expect? If it is a reliable indicator, what's the recommended forward structure? So you named some names earlier. Are these things that you put thought into? So do you think Parker is a reasonable chance? Gorn we know is a reasonable chance, as is Grundy, which I think is underrated because I think both can go at least 95 plus in their mixed role. And then you look at the Petrarcas, who has been flirting with extra forward time. And then there's always a Bulldog in the mix, like maybe it's Smith or something this year because you didn't get it last year. Maybe he's making up for it. I'm not sure. But essentially, like even someone like Treloar could do it reasonably. What sort of names are you looking at? Or is it like, do you think it's less likely this year from like Bontempelli, I think is absolutely an outlier. Like we don't get a Bontempelli every year.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, the way that the football is being played is shifting. I think it's very clear to everyone that's watched and anyone that's been paying attention this preseason that teams are running more players through the midfield. And because of that, those midfielders are being either rested, some back, some forward. And that means there's going to be more DPPs. It's completely crazy to think that we're not going to get, as many DPPs as last year, this year, just because the pure number of players running through the midfield is going to increase this year. And that's the way the game style is changing. So I think we're going to get a boatload of DPP this year, but that doesn't mean there's going to be a boatload of good options. It just means there's going to be a boatload of options. And I don't expect, if you want me to answer how many do I think will be realistic options for our teams, I think 2 or 3. But in terms of like Keys and Boak and Dangerfield and these guys, like I think they'll get DPP. I just don't think they'll be options. I mean, maybe like F7 options.
What you're looking for is like Boak to get DPP at round 6 and then around the bye, someone predominant in the midfield has some form of injury or suspension or they're just out of favour or something. Yeah. And then you see Boak make that reverse role change back into the midfield. That's sort of what we're looking for. And that is just not something that happens all the time. Otherwise, all the other intruders are probably going to be averaging around what Goulden's going to be averaging regardless. Like if we look at Goulden's floor, I think he's probable to go 90 plus at the very least. Yeah. And if he's doing that, if he's going between 90 and 100, which I think is about where he lands, he's probably better than most of the intruders regardless. And it's only really these upper echelon guys like the Melbourne Rucks potentially, or the Petrarcas or, et cetera, that were like, oh, wow, we need this guy in our team. So like now we start looking at it sideways. So I don't think it's a shoe-in that we get guys that we have to trade the Gouldens to this year. Yeah. Anthony N24 says, currently right now I have Flanders and Callahan, but I want to bring in Goulden. Only option is to downgrade Oliver to Kelly or someone around 610k and then upgrade Flanders to Gouldens. What are your thoughts on that? Now, I might be the wrong person to ask, but I absolutely love that.
I mean, you don't have to get Goulden. I don't think it's like... I mean, I'm saying it as someone who has Goulden and likes Goulden. Like, I don't think he's going to be this make or break pick that he seemingly is based on these questions that we're receiving, JB.
No.
I think 100%. He's fine. I feel worse about him than my other forwards.
Yeah, for sure.
He's fine. I think it would blow my mind if he went 105 and was like this must pick player, and if you didn't pick him, you're just like behind the 8 ball. Like that would blow my mind. That's not what I'm expecting from him. I don't like Oliver, which might be, we've been discussing it for a while. And that's the only reason that I'd suggest it. But if you're talking about total score at the end of the 23 rounds, I mean, Oliver's going to kill Jelly for total points.
Yeah, he is.
So just I don't think it's super necessary.
If you do...
Only if you really want Goulden.
Yeah, so my initial response was regarding the fact that he wants to bring in Goulden.
Yeah.
And in that case, I can assume he's looked into it. He thinks he's going to go 100 plus. In that case, I think Oliver to Kelly and Flanders to Goulden are 2 absolutely fine moves. You get an extra premium out of it in your eyes. You get rid of Flanders, who was sort of speculative on it anyway. And I love Josh Kelly, so I'm never going to turn him down.
Oh boy, yeah.
Russell is the next one. Can you please weigh up guns and rookies versus mid-price madness? Which do you see being the better starting team? So this one has some levels to it, I guess. So I'd like you to count your mid-prices. We'll go, let's say, 250k or higher.
All right. Let me load my team up. Should I count out loud? Have we got some interactive podcasting here?
No. Well, I'll just talk. I'll say that I've got 4 of those guys, and then a couple of guys like Jones, Crozier, Ashcroft around the 200 mark, and Sheasel.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too guns and rookie. I don't think that's too mid-price madness. I think that's actually still, for the rookies that we have, which is what's going to dictate this answer anyway, for the rookies that we have, only having 3 or 4 mid-prices, I think is still on the low side as to what you could go.
I'm struggling to fill out my team with proper rookies. So if you have less, or fewer, I should say, than I do, I don't know how you're filling out your team with proper rookies unless you're paying like... No, I generally don't know how you do it unless you really have like bottom-end premiums instead of top-end premiums, I guess.
Straight guns and rookies isn't viable. So you asked what's going to do better. If I, for example, had my 4 midfield premiums and then, for example, just had Hopper and then dropped down to Ashcroft, McKenzie, Phillips, 3 rookies on the bench, like I don't know who I'm putting on my bench. So in that case, I feel like this team that I've got here does better because at least all 3 guys on my bench are best 22. They're going to play. They're going to make money. For your example, I think my team just makes so much more money over the course of the year that it's really hard to keep up with if you're going full guns and rookies. In defense, like we mentioned earlier, like does that mean you're fielding Wilmot or Chesser? Like that feels awful as well. Even Cowan could lose his job to Chincotta after 2 or 3 weeks. So I just don't have the confidence that other people must do in regards to guns and rookies.
Yeah, I don't think guns and rookies is super viable. Basically, if we look at the teams on Thursday, it's possible 12 premiums isn't going to be viable. And I'm fully expecting that and kind of putting in ideas on how I make, the best 11 premium side that's got an extra mid-pricer, which I think is what your structure is. So I'm kind of expecting that to happen and have a backup plan. I think mid-price madness is the better way this year to answer the question. Mark
has double dipped with another question. Thoughts on having Nat Fyfe at F5 so I don't have to field Sheasel and Philippou? Follow-up, is Sheasel or Philippou better? Sheasel, we've already spoken about that. Nat Fyfe, we haven't spoken about him yet. Still has decent ownership. I really don't like this pick, not only for the fact that he's like the most injury-prone player in the league, which everyone seems to forget about when considering him just because he's a bit cheaper, but also it took him 3 goals and like 3 direct scoring assists to get to 90 against Port in a pretty big win. I just don't think he's going to be consistent enough to go 90 plus for the season, which is around where he needs. And he's surrounded by guys like Bruin. I would even put Flanders higher than Fyfe, and then Zeeble I would also put higher than Fyfe. So he's just surrounded by better players at similar prices.
So let me ask you, if you had to put a points, like what, let's say in the first 6 weeks, because that's when
80.
He's gonna make the most amount of money, and it's an easy fixture. You think 80 is what he'll get?
Yeah.
So I don't disagree. I think it'll probably be like 82, 83. So I'm in the same ballpark. I just think if I think Flanders is going to go 75,
he's only 60k cheaper.
He's 60k cheaper, but that's approximately like 11 points. So I guess you just got to kind of weigh up. Yeah, I think Flanders probably is a better pick then. To be fair, Fyfe feels like the guy that you pick when you know you're going to pivot at the end of round 2 and you're going to jump on Bruin or Zeeble or Flanders and you can't make up your mind, so you just pick Fyfe. You're like, which one should I go with?
You know that you're going to have to pivot to.
It just feels like that's that guy. I feel like that's what people are using him for.
I think it's time to jump off Fyfe. Yeah, he can't have played a much better forward game than what he did against Port in the Pracky. And if he got 110, I'd be all over him as well. Not all over him as in he'd guarantee being my team, but like more so I could justify more of an ownership. I could, potentially fiddle with him in my team, but he didn't. He only scored
What happens
90.
if he kicks 10 goals?
Well, then he's probably going to be a good pick.
Yeah, so just consider that.
That's at least 100 points. All right, so Dan has asked, I'm one of the guys running the top 4 forward picks. I wonder where this is going. With Gordon at F5, I need to decide whether I go 1 or 2 premiums in defence. Oh, it's a defence question. That really took a turn. Currently Sicily and Lockety, so drop one of those to run 3 premiums in the midfield, which is currently Laird and Bond, and have Tom Green and Hopper help. All right, so he's pretty much asking 2 defender premiums versus 4 midfield premiums.
No, he's saying drop one of those 2 premium defenders to run 3. So he actually has 2 premium mids at the moment.
But he said he currently has...
I don't know. The question's confusing.
Okay, but I think he's saying he's deciding between... Because this is where the structure would be for me if I was in the same position.
I think 1 premium defender is fine, and there's better defensive rookies than there are midfield rookies. So I'm going with that.
Yep, 1 defensive premium. Harry has asked, can you run 10 premiums if it minimises the rookies on field with upcoming carnage if they start being subbed off? Currently have 4 rookies on field with 10 premiums. All right, so you've got as many rookies as me on field. I'm counting my rookies
on field. 1, 2, 3.
I have 5.
I have 5.
Yeah, but my 5 are Jinby, Constable, Ashcroft, McKenzie, Sheasel. None of those guys are going to be subs. So, like, the guys that you're looking at to potentially be sub risks are on a much lower grade than that. So I think 11 is still... I think you do a rerun and you get 11 premiums in, and those guys are absolutely fine. But which extra one do you have?
I have Will Phillips, I guess.
Yeah, okay, and Phillips is the very next one that's equally good, and it can be run on field all season, or for the first 8 weeks, whatever.
I hope I don't have to run him on field all season.
Right. But
I think 10. Like, if I ignore the currently have 4 rookies on field, I think you can run 10 premium teams, and you choose all of the mid prices, but you better hope that they all pay off.
Yeah, I don't like
not where to go.
I think it's way too risky. And I don't think the rookies are that bad that you have to do it. Do you not believe in... You have to, not believe in Constable or something.
No, you have to... Yeah, true. Or you just don't believe in Crozier and Jones, so you don't pick them. And then you're relying on the rookies.
Yeah. No, I think 11 is at the least... most years we try to start with 12.
Yeah.
And that's what we did last year, which I think we thought played against us a bit.
Absolutely did.
And then now we've sort of gone back down to 11, which I think is the most popular in Slack at the moment. Going down to 10 feels like a bit of an overcorrection to me.
The mid prices last year, I feel like, are better than the mid prices that we have this year.
We had Cogs and Brody, who were 2 season-long keepers for starters. We had Hewitt, who was a season-long keeper. With the mid prices last year were incredible.
I mean, Sicily was like that 12th premium we're talking about.
Sicily again, yeah, 100%.
Cripps was a mid-pricer as well. These guys were incredible. And I'm looking at, people talking about... if you look at, Hopper, who's probably the best of the mid-prices, he's not... But even Yo, none of those guys, Yo and Hopper, aren't as good as any of those previous guys we just mentioned.
No, they're not.
So, Bruin, I like Bruin. He's in my team, but am I expecting him to do anything like those guys, like a Brody? No, I'm not. I would be surprised. I want that to happen, but
I'd love that to happen.
That would be shocking to me.
JW asks, and this is the left field one, thoughts on Hugh McCluggage now that Dunks is in the team? His yearly average points have been on the up the last few seasons. I really like Hugh McCluggage a lot this year.
Wow, I didn't expect that.
I think he's going to get CBAs. I think he's going to have a very, very good year, but he's not close to that top 8 midfield range. I just think you target him in like every single draft you're in when he becomes available.
So my gut straight away went to Dunkley's getting the CBAs, and then
Ashcroft is their third guy.
Yeah, no, I know, but he's a third, and I think he probably was a second. Now he's third, and then Ashcroft is sniping those CBAs as well because Ashcroft is just a jet.
But Lyons is out now, so it's kind of.
I know, but it's not. It just doesn't feel like it feels like McCluggage went back in the pecking order, and that to me feels bad.
I think he went up.
You think he was behind Lyons?
Yeah,
I thought he was
or at least
2.
on par with him / Berry. I think they all three sort of just shed it evenly. But I think Berry's now out on a wing and Lyons is almost out of the team, and I think Clug is really sewn up that third spot. Again, not classic relevant, but I think he's definitely draft relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's draft relevant. I'd be surprised if he had a jump from last year into this year, like a significant rise. Yeah, I would be surprised. I'm just looking at the CBAs from last year. I mean, he only had 55% last year. I mean, that was still the third. Maybe. I don't love it, but maybe.
Okay, let's move on. We've only got a few left. So, Dirty Schneiches asks, please discuss Zeeble versus Flanders. I mean, look, there's a big money discrepancy on this one, about 100K.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. I think Zeeble clearly out-averages and outpoints Flanders for the season. But that 100K could be utilised in a lot of different ways, and this makes it really difficult to talk on it. But just flat out one versus the other, I think Zeeble is quite clearly the guy.
Zeeble's going to get back status as well, which is underrated. I probably am in the camp of... I think Flanders is better in terms of points per dollar, but I feel more comfortable with Zeeble and the back. Like, he gets back cover probably right when we need it, the back status, and that adds value in itself. I think, I don't know. I feel like I'd go Flanders. I'm just going to choose the opposite one.
Fair enough. Caleb says, other than Hopper, who do you think the best midfield mid-pricer is this year? We've sort of discussed this. I just want to clarify, is Lockie Ash your answer there?
Yeah, I think I have. It's close between Ash and Warple, but I think Ash is better.
Yeah, he edges out Warple for me as well. Scobie asks if you had to pick one option. I've already asked this because he's in my DMs. Crozier and Cogs or Ridley and Flanders. So similar to what we had earlier, I'm curious as to where you go here.
Yeah, in that other one, it was Sheasel, right? And Cogs.
Yep.
I think Crozier will go 75, and I have Sheasel penciled in for like 65, 70. So, yeah, I think Crozier and Cogs, I think that flips it for me.
Cool.
I knew it was Bruin instead of Flanders. So I think this one's actually much easier in that it's Crozier and Cogs. Okay,
the next one's a bit heavy. So would love a ranking of the mid-price options available regardless of line.
No.
Enough DPP options really for anyone to be viable as a little topic. 250 to 350K-ish, possibly including Liam Jones and Crozier as well.
My God.
This one got a lot of attention from the voters. So maybe something I should have prepared us for, but I didn't read the questions ahead of pressing play. So here we are.
God.
Do you want to go line by line? How do you want to do this?
Well, it says regardless.
I know, so but we're just going to do it line by line, and then we're going to say our favourites.
Jeepers. Okay.
I can just jot them off the top of my head from defence.
I want to do them. I want to do them non-line by line to make I want to answer the question.
I'll get a pen out then. Okay.
Yeah, I think probably going to have to. I'm going to say my number one mid-pricer, because that one's easier to talk about across all the lines, is probably Hopper. I'm not sure much explanation's needed. I think he's going to go 90 plus, and that's good. So lock that in. Good roll. My next favourite out of all the lines is still Yo. I think that Yo is an incredible footballer, and his role is good. And I know West Coast will get trounced some games, but he'll play. He's listed down back. He'll make me at least 100K. There's potential that he'll end up a keeper if he pops off. So Yo is my number 2. JB, then
Do you need the list yet?
this is when it gets interesting.
Okay.
Am I ranking in terms of value or am I ranking in terms of average now? Because that changes my answer for number 3.
Let's say value, so startability.
Okay, I think I will go. Did he say from 250k?
But he said possibly including Jones
Yeah,
and Crozier.
I'm gonna add Crozier into the. Okay, so I'm not gonna add in Bruin. Okay, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Crozier.
The Bruins in this.
Yeah, no, I know. I just think that it's the risk is higher.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go with Crozier as the value pick. I feel like he's a pretty solid 75. I know that I just don't really believe the job security issues. I think he's decent, a pretty decent footballer. I think he's first choice and will make 150k and potentially some change. So it's probably him. Then you've got Jones with the job security and also the money, and then it's probably Bruin, slightly above Ash because of already the DPP and getting in I get to choose Bruin instead of a forward rookie, which we've spoken about how I really dislike. So I probably have Bruin, and then I will have Ash.
Yep. Do you want some names yet of who?
No, I'm powering through. I'm
Okay.
I'm getting through this. Then it's Warple after that for me, and then it jumps back down to Flanders, and now this is where I'm starting to question the viability of the picks. As per the question, it was like in the follow up, some of these might not be super viable, and then you're probably looking at Setterfield, might be not viable. I don't have anything open in front of me, JB. So I'm gonna
offered you names six times.
I'm gonna after the Setterfield one. I'm gonna ask for some names. No,
Okay,
wait.
so
Are you gonna do
left them on the
Bose
list.
and like Stocker? Like, do they count? Hunter
Yes.
Clark.
Bose and Stock account, and then I've got Jay-Z and Fife as well, of the guys you haven't ranked.
You forgot Hunter Clark.
Well, Hunter Clark is not viable.
I think it's a viably not great pick.
All right, whatever. Let's put Hunter Clark on, and then you can rank him right above Fife, and then we can move on.
Okay, that is what I will do.
Okay, so out of Jay-Z,
I went
Bose, and
Setterfield.
Stocker, who are remaining?
I think actually Stocker's probably ahead of Setterfield, and then it's not viable. Yeah,
You don't think
Stocker.
Jay-Z's viable?
I don't love it. I think it's a stopgap measure, the same way that you kind of use it because you're worried that you messed up your back line. And I'd rather, like, if I'm picking a pick, this is just the way I see it, right? Like,
Oh, please.
I'm choosing my team, and this might not be the strategy for everybody because I'm playing for overall.
No,
and
everyone
I'm
chooses their team.
Yeah, okay. And I'm choosing the team that I think has a good chance of winning, or of the entire game, and that's kind of how I want to play the game. Is that I'm playing to win. When I pick Jay-Z, I feel like I'm picking Jay-Z in case one of my other picks goes bad and I have to like fix a problem, and it's not going to be like the higher risk, higher reward pick. I don't feel like it'll be that boom or bust, and I get the boom, and it sets me
I'm going to
apart.
give you the opportunity to lock your picks in. I'm going to read them back out to you, just so the listeners don't have to try and remember what sort of waffle you were just on about then. And then you can tell me whether you lock them in or not. So, number 1, Jacob Hopper.
Yep.
Number 2 is... Where is it?
Yo.
Elliot Yo. Number 3 is Crozier. Number
Yep.
4, Liam Jones. Number 5, Tanner Bruin. Number 6 was Lockie Ash. Number 7 was Warple. Number 8 was Flanders. Number 9 was Stocker.
Yep.
Number 10 was Setterfield. Number 11 was Jay-Z. Number 12 was Jack Bose. Number 13 would be
Hunter Clark.
Hunter Clark. Yep. And 14 is Fife.
Oh, actually, 5 before Hunter Clark. Then lock it in.
Fife? Okay. Naturally. So 13 for Fife, 14 for Clark.
Yep.
Okay. Are you happy with that? I
think Bose could be last.
The only thing that I'll say is I think you underrate Setterfield a little bit. I think he's probably a little bit higher on the list. Like, I think he's probably above Flanders.
So I underrated him by a spot.
3 spots. Flanders
who-
was 8th. Satterfield was 10th.
Who was
9th
between?
was Stocker.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But besides that, it's pretty good.
All right. Well, that was a really difficult question to pop us on the spot. So thanks,
Yeah.
Bell. I'll remember
Yeah,
that.
welcome. Okay, so we've got a couple more. Goulden is now owned by 35% of all teams. At this level of ownership, is there safety in numbers to start him if he's a dud pick? Conversely, if that figure worrisome if you're not picking him and he starts well? Are you behind and scrambling to catch up on a third of the competition? That's by Seeker11. He always gives us the tough questions, Seeker.
I like this question a lot. So I think I'm going to start with the conversely. If you're worried about the figure because it bursts out the block, what's Goulden going to do? It's not going to average 120. Like, you're not going to be scrambling to catch up from 35% because he averages 120 over the first month. Like, it's just not going to happen. Goulden bursting out of the block and doing really well. As I said, I think like best case is he puts a 4-game average together of like 107, and you're not dying. Like, your season's not over because of that if you don't select him. I think there is safety in numbers with the 35% for the first part of the question. If he is a dud, yeah, so many people will have to get rid of him that it won't really impact you that much. I mean, sure, 65% have an advantage of not getting rid of, but you're hoping that the other parts of your team makes up for it. So I do think that the risk is lowered because he's in so many teams, but it's not a reason to select him or not to select him.
Yeah, I think percentage overall is a little bit overrated, and players that are highly owned, like Dustin Martin last year, tend to, like, you should still follow your gut and not let percentage dictate, because I think there's as much to gain as there is to lose, and you still should either way go with what you genuinely think about the pick, and then see what you're going to have to react with. Because either way, on either scenario, you're going to have to react for the worst case scenario. Just make sure you're prepared for it, I think, is the best way to explain it. We got a couple more questions left, maybe 2 questions left. So Matt asks, chances of Jelly playing off a wing this season?
I mean,
I've got a number. I've got a percentage in mind. Do you want to hear it?
5%?
Oh, you're so close. It's 4%.
Oh, gosh.
I genuinely was on 4% the whole time. Yeah,
How'd you get 4?
I just did like a lot of small calculations, and it all worked out to 4%.
All right, fair enough. Let's jump into Matt Cairns. I'll ask you this one because I'm interested in your answer.
Whoa. What do you mean?
What do I mean? What?
Like, why is Jelly not going to come off a wing?
Oh, well, they have said about his midfield role. He is amazing in the midfield role. They don't actually have that many pure midfielders left, so he kind of is forced into it. And the reason I give it 5% is that's where Jelly goes when he's injured. And that's a chance.
That is a chance. Okay, cool. Matt Cairns then, and then one more question, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, after I ask you one off the cuff, but
Maybe.
Yeah. Matt Cairns, he says, in my midfield, I have no DPP. Will this come back to bite me?
I don't think it's essential, but like...
How?
No, what do you mean how? I've only got one DPP in my midfield, and it's defender.
Oh, you don't have... Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so
wow.
That's the how. I don't think it's essential, but I'm surprised because I don't know who you've got at M9. No, I don't. Look,
I never have
I think
forward mid DPPs in my midfield, like in any season.
No, neither do I usually, but I think it's actually... I think it's helpful this season to get it because all of our big four have midfield status. And it'll really help, I think. But I think you'll get it eventually anyway. So, like, I wouldn't like rip my team apart to get it. But I think it's handy.
I mean, you can just get Alan Davey Jr. in the midfield if you're desperate. It's not like a bad thing.
Then who do you put at F8 sort of thing?
Oh, then we wait and we see. I mean, we'll get Green for sure. Fergus Green, and I'm happy about that. The other one is let's wait and see what happens in the team names.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Sturt.
it's not easy to just force them in there. I wouldn't force them in there, but I think it's preferable.
I think if Sturt could be named alongside Walters and Frederick in the round 1 side, I'd feel comfortable because I'm like, all right, well then he's just in their best 22.
Yeah, I'd be fine with it, but also, like, does that make him better than players on other? Like, it doesn't make him better than like
Wilmot.
Baker. I don't have Wilmot, but doesn't make it better than
No.
Baker, Phillips, Chesser, Cowan, McKenna.
Baker, Phillips, Chesser, Cowan, McKenna. No, he's still worst out of all of those.
Yeah, so some teams the structure's just not going to line up for it, and that's fine. But I think if you can do it, then it's preferable still. But I wouldn't throw anything away to get it done.
All right, well...
Last question.
Okay.
Toddy asks, is starting all 3 Green, Jelly, and Cogs too risky? I love that he's asked this question because I see this spoken about a lot, especially on Twitter. This seems to be the hottest thing on Twitter. Is like, why are we not starting Josh Kelly? He's 580k. He had 36 CBAs out of 45 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not starting this guy? Oh, it's because I've already got Tom Green and Cornelio. I don't want 3 guys from a midfield. And it's like, why? Like, they're all unbelievable value. Like, they're all playing in a predominant midfield role. It's like, oh, well, I don't think GWS are going to be that good this year. And it's like, yeah, but we've had examples of other teams that aren't necessarily top of the ladder having high-scoring midfielders like GWS in the past. So what is the difference now? Because all of them are good value. All of them in isolation are good picks. So does it matter that they all play for the same team? My literal center of my midfield right now that I'm looking at, so my M345 are GWS players, and I've got Cogs. So I've got 4 of them, and I'm so comfortable.
You have Ash as well. That's
yeah,
funny.
absolutely. And like, I look at it, and do you know who my next guy would be? Callahan.
Bruce.
No, not Bruce. But I look at it and I go, all right, so is this an issue? Is Cornelio a good option? I think he's underpriced for what he could go. I think he's got the best start in the competition, or one of the best starts in the competition in terms of fixturing. And I think he's a full-time midfielder who is a forward in the game. Absolutely lock him in. Tom Green, 530k. He's at the lowest price he's going to be all season. Lock him in. Lockie Ash, playing in defence, 330k. He's going to get the defensive eligibility. Do you know what I mean? I justify all these guys. So why does it matter what colour they wear?
So this is how I would answer the question. At the end of the day, you're looking at your total points. You're not really looking at your variation week to week. Starting all 3 does impact your team on a week-by-week basis' variation, because if GWS lose by 100 points, you have likely a worse score. However, when they win by 100 points, if they do, then they all do well. And at the end of the day, you really only care about the overall points. And if all of them are better value at their starting price, then that's kind of what you care about. You can't say they don't impact each other in like the slightest, because the way SuperCoach scaling works, and that there's a specific amount of SuperCoach pie, there is some impact, but 3 players is so minimal when there's 44 people in the game. So 3 players in the same team, I don't think that's... I'm pretty sure I've had more than 3 players plenty of times in SuperCoach from the same team.
I look at Sydney, who we had like a half dozen players from. That was like Buddy, Hanbury, JPK, Parker vibes. And then who else?
I've had 3 Collingwood midfielders in the past, and it's been very good for me.
Swan, and Pendles were definitely all in there at one point. I had that as well. There are just
Geelong as well.
Like
Geelong
we
back in the
literally
day.
last year we all had Dunkley, McRae, English, and Bontempelli, and Bulldogs weren't even that good.
Yeah, they weren't that good.
And a lot of people had
hot
Smith.
take.
Like, I don't like. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people even had Bailey Dale.
Yeah, I think you really do have to judge them based on... And GWS, I'm pretty sure we're a high-scoring SuperCoach side in general. And
they are.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think GWS are better than what people probably think. Like, I don't think they're going to finish bottom 4.
I wanted to discuss that after we sort of got through the first speed bump of is it okay?
Yeah.
So without putting a ladder predictor out there and all that, Just what sort of range do you put them in? Like
All
bottom
right.
4, top 8, bottom 10.
Yeah, so if you've got your pen handy, I'm going to go off the top of my head with all 18 teams in order. No,
Absolutely not.
I don't think they'll be bottom 4. I think maybe
Nah,
sixth,
not at
sixth
all.
to last.
Yeah. So
12th?
and I think
like that.
12th and 8th, 12th and 6th are probably going to be like 3 games apart at most.
Yeah.
So like they're in that range. I think they're fine. They've got a coach who's going to play them in their positions all year. They got Kingsley, who's coming from the Richmond system, who I actually have a decent amount of belief in, believe it or not. They looked very good during the preseason, which I know doesn't say everything, but they looked very good during the preseason. And they've got talent. I know they lost talent, Hopper and Taranto, but they do that because they can now just reload the midfield, and they've got Cogs, Green, and Jelly in there who are all
incredible midfield.
elite midfielders. Like it's not the end of the world for them. It's probably better in terms of balance because they don't have Cogs playing in a forward pocket and Jelly on a wing. Like they've got these guys in their best positions now. They've got Whitfield off of a wing and into half back. Like I don't think the team is going to be as bad as what people say, and I don't think it's a problem. Genuinely, look at the Bulldogs. We had like 10 of those guys last year, and they all didn't disappoint. Like I don't know. I think it's just a mentality thing, and people don't want to see, and people still think of GWS as like that team, right? That always lies and that screws us over, and the players get injured, and they don't tell us about the injuries, but that's Leon Cameron. Let's give Kingsley a chance. They've already announced a Laird tag for round 1, 5 days out.
I love that.
Which I love as well,
that he did
100%. Like they've shown more transparency this year than what they've done in their entire existence in the competition. So I just think it's hogwash that people are using that as an excuse to get these guys out of their teams.
Yeah.
Especially the likes of Cornelio and Green. Those two, in my opinion, should be in nearly every single team. Like, I can't possibly find a way that either of those two guys miss out unless they're injured.
So, I got a couple of quick questions. One, do you give any weights to Laird getting attention in round 1? Like, does that impact your decision on Laird in any way? Okay.
He's been tagged into a 120 before. I think he's one of those players who you don't actually tag. You just sort of keep them accountable throughout the day, and that'll be Perriman. That's his job in the team. He's a cooler, so to speak, but he's the type of guy who will sit on him at a stoppage, will try to stop him from getting that handball shovel out to a teammate. But at the end of the day, what they're going to do is they're just going to tackle the crap out of each other all day. They're both going to end up with 10 tackles each, and all of Laird's possessions are probably going to be contested. And it's like,
are you still going to captain Laird?
What day do they play? We actually probably should do captains on this. They play Sunday. Right. Yeah, 100%. If whoever my VC is, which is probably Dunkley at this point, or maybe Doherty.
Yeah, I was going to say Doherty's sounding pretty good right now.
Yeah, he does score well against Richmond in the round 1 clash as well. Dustin Martin-esque on the reverse side of that fixture, but. I'll still captain him. Absolutely. I'm fine with that.
All right. Excellent. Well, I'm glad we went through the captains very quickly. So, I mean, it's true. There's not many other...
There's no argument from me.
So,
maybe I guess... Jelly instead.
Well, yeah, that's really not a bad shout. Now, I want to have a question to you.
Be quick.
Specifically about Jelly. Because I love Jelly, obviously. And he's on my team. Actually, I'm not a massive Jelly fan. I only like the green flavour.
You're sending super mixed messages right now. Then.
Yeah, so Josh Kelly, Jelly. Now, there's an extra round this year. I know we've spoken about in the DDD, but I just want to settle some, I guess maybe final opinions that I'm having, some nerves that I'm having.
Some qualms.
Do you really think that he's going to play every game?
Okay, so...
As a CBA mid, do you really think he's going to play every game?
This has 2 answers.
Okay.
Do I think he can? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But do you think he will?
I think the percentage of him playing it is still... Playing all games is still pretty good.
Yeah.
But like the percentage of him missing a game is good enough to be like, no, I can't confidently say he's going to play 23 games.
Yeah. If he played 24, they're making finals.
Well, yeah, back him in, genuinely. No, but I can't confidently say like, oh, on my life, like cancer council bet right now, he's going to play 23. But I'm confident. Yeah, I think he does. And if he doesn't, like I've got Will Phillips on my bench. I don't think he misses significant time at any point. If that helps.
I don't think he'll miss significant time either. When I think about it, like in my heart of hearts, do I really think he's going to play every game? Like I don't. I do think he misses, one, maybe two.
Yeah, I think he probably misses one or two. Yeah,
and then I just think about, and this might come as a bit shocking for you. Like, what if I pick Macrae for 50k more? Macrae's going to play every game for the whole season. Like he will. And Macrae's going to out-average him on total points. I'm quite sure that's true. Like, well, then do I think, well, why didn't I just pay 50k more and just get the guy that's going to outscore him across the entire season?
All right.
Jelly's more fun and I'll have a way better time. But, like, I just keep coming back to, like, deep down, shouldn't I just do that?
Let me ask this.
Yeah.
All right, so GWS play Adelaide at GWS.
Yes.
Then they play West Coast at Optus. Then they play Carlton again at home.
Yeah.
Then they play Essendon at Marvel.
They might get tagged, but yep.
Then they play Hawthorn.
That could be a tag.
And then it starts getting harder with Brisbane and then Sydney and then etc.
Could be a tag.
So, all right. So let's not assume that he's just going to get tagged in every single game because they do have other taggable options.
They do have many taggable options, but he might get tagged.
He could genuinely, he could.
Yeah.
But say he doesn't get tagged, or at least doesn't get a hard tag to the point where he's putting out 80s.
Yeah.
After 5 rounds, would you rather be looking to trade him in with the thought process of I don't think he plays every game, or would you rather to have just started him?
I just would never trade him in if I don't start him.
And that's the thing. And I think he's going to be that appealing after 3, 4, 5 games that people are going to be like, oh my god, I can't ignore this guy. Like he's scoring really well against these easy opposition. But you don't want to trade someone in like that because you still have that in your back of your mind, like, oh, he's a good chance to miss games. And then what if he doesn't miss games and people have just started him or the risky players have just traded him in? And then, like, I think that scenario sounds worse to me than just having a guy that I move at his buys.
The thing that I keep feeling is I'm sure, well, let's say he's averaging 140 over the first month and I'm loving life. But then at the end of the day, like round 23 finishes and I look at the overall points tally and Macrae is above Jelly by like 3 positions. And I'm like, well, why didn't I just start Macrae for 50k more? Because I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, but you're going to trade Macrae in with the confidence that he's going to play every game for you. You're not going to fade him for the entire season.
No, sure, you could get Macrae. But the thing is, there is a lot of other good midfielders that you can get that are not Jelly.
Yeah, so it's the fringe guys that you're fading. It's the Jack Steeles. It's it's those guys. But the Lockie Neal, Clary, Macrae are the guys that you're going to be trading in.
But I mean, the reason we're not picking Clary, well, I'm not picking him, is because of his starting price. Like if he during the season, obviously he's going to be my number one priority, and Neal is going to be very, close priority. And I feel like a lot of those, I guess, as you call them, fringe players, like. I think there's a good chance Steele averages as much as Jelly, but I just don't want to pay 600k for it. I'll just wait and see. So it just makes me think that I could just pay the 50k more now for Macrae because I know he's going to outscore Jelly at the end of the day, and then I'll just feel much better about it because after a month I might be feeling sad, but at the end of the season I'll probably be feeling a bit better, and it's just a feeling I can't quite shake. Or at least wanted to discuss because I know there's so many people. Like Jelly's a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a Slack special because I feel like there's quite a few podcasters on it. But
it's only in 5% of teams.
People aren't picking up on it because they're too scared, and I get it. Like I totally get it. But I'm just thinking maybe it is just safer to pay the 50k more and just start Jack Macrae and not have to worry about it at the end of the day, and Macrae will just be better. I don't know. It's just been running through my mind. It scares me.
So, All right, let me phrase it to you like this. After that first month,
Yeah.
even knowing that he's like still a chance to miss a game, knowing that you've missed out, blah blah blah, knowing that his run gets a bit tough. If he's averaging like 125 plus, are you actually not trading him in? Do you have that ability to not trade a guy in like that?
If I don't start Jelly, I'm never trading him in.
I tell you right now, if he's doing that after the first few weeks, I'm just trading him in.
I'm not.
I can't
I'm not
stand watching this guy. Like if his ownership goes 10, 15%, I know this guy's capable of just carrying on for the season. I'm not taking that risk of not having him in my team. I'm just getting him. So I know I'm better off starting him than trading him in eventually if I think he's going to be good.
I mean, that's fair. If you're dead set on trading him in if he's starting with 140s, then I guess you do you. But I'm not that confident. Like I think I would not do it. And then I guess I start shifting from that question into like Canelio, right? Canelio has never played a full season, so I wouldn't expect him to play a full season.
Canelio is a different value than Jelly.
No, he is.
Canelio is guaranteed top. I would even say 3 forward, but guaranteed top 4 forward.
Even with missing games? Because at the end of the day, probably. That's what matters, right? Like,
yeah, probably. Was he last year?
After his 21 games, I don't know. I don't have it open, but I mean, he definitely may have been, but people have moved. Yeah, that like Bont. I don't think he outscored Bont and Parker and stuff like that.
No. He didn't outscore those guys.
I'm just like looking at these guys, and I'm 100% sure Canelio doesn't play 23 because he's just never ever done it right. So if I like, should I not be picking him? And
no, because what if the injury's in round 18 for a week? Like, but then you can't predict when these injuries are going to come, and you're going to have to trade in Canelio. 100%.
If it's round 18 for a week, I'm copping donuts for the rest of the year.
I hope you've got cover, mate. But no, as in for 1 week, he's got a round 18 injury, he misses 1 week. And then, he's out of the top 6, but he's owned by 80% of the top 1,000. Like, who cares?
If I've picked somebody to start the year, let's say it's Goulden. Let's say Goulden goes 95 and Cogs goes 100. I know that's not the most likely situation, but let's just say that. I could get Cogs missing 2 games and Goulden playing 22, and then Goulden ends up just being the better pick to have had the whole year.
All right, let me throw out a crazy scenario.
Yeah, do it.
What if Goulden misses a game?
I mean, look, it definitely can.
Like
but
what is it talking?
Not every player has the exact same injury-prone chance. Like we know, Canelio's never played a full season. I feel a lot more confident on him missing games.
But I'm confident that you have to have him by the end of the year. So what if he just misses it in round 21?
But then do you have to?
Yeah, because he's going to average 110 in the forward line. You're going to miss out on so many points by that point. Like when it gets to the bye and he's played every single game, you are 100% going to have to trade him in. You are losing those points to 60% of the competition. You can't just keep going with that. You have to get him.
But I guess if you're getting somebody else that's equal value on another line, I guess that's the thing. If you are able to find somebody that's on another line that's providing the same value, then you come out equal with Canelio, but then you don't miss the games, assuming that
I just think it's crazy. Like I understand, like statistically, there are higher chances that some people miss than others, but we don't know when. We don't know how. We don't know why. We don't know what the cover's going to do. What if that's the game? What if it's round 5 and Phillips scores 100 that game? Like we just don't know these things.
It's true.
We don't know. So it's
and we might have
impossible to just
Goulden F7. Goulden might be F7s at the end of the day. Like
I don't know. Just all I know is pick the good guys that score the points. And I think Cogs is 100% a guy who scores the points. I understand people being speculative on Jelly, but Cogs is a guy that you just can't second guess. He is a guy that's going to score the points. And if he misses round 2 or round 20, so be it. Like every other game that you have him for, he's going to be top 4 in his line, 100%. When you can say that with certainty, it mitigates a lot of that risk of, he's probably going to miss a game here.
Yeah, it does help that I think even with intruders, Cogs is going to be
Yeah, easily.
Very much. I don't feel like Jelly is guaranteed to be
No,
top
Jelly's
8 in his line.
No, he's
and
not,
then it makes me think, well, if I had the money, maybe I'd do it. The thing is, like, I don't have the money to upgrade Jelly anyway, unless I went down
you put me through all that.
Well,
You don't even
I
have
could
the money.
drop down in my 11 premium team. I probably don't have Jelly. I might have Neil instead of Jelly, or McRae.
I like that
someone
team
like that. And that might be my backup if the rookie.
But what if
the rookie's
Neil
not
gets
named.
injured?
I mean, Neil might be injured, but at the end of the day, he's top of his line. I don't think there's other people that can catch him.
Okay, well, I think that's going to do us for this podcast. It was longer than I expected for an hour and a half, so I appreciate everyone
interesting
for tuning in. It is very interesting. I don't think we're going to have a podcast before round 1 starts. So good luck to everyone. I hope
we'll be panicking ourselves, so
Yes,
no time for anybody else.
I do hope that this was a last second Q&A. I hope your answers, even if you're not in the Slack, what your questions were answered. If not, then make sure you reach out to us either on Slack if you do have questions. Obviously, our DMs are open. That's what the whole program is there for. So hit us up. Otherwise, try to get to us on Twitter. It's going to be a busy week, so I apologize if we don't get back to everyone. But I am myself at JB_DRSC. Then you got Pistol at Pistol_DRSC, and of course Chizo at Chizo_DRSC. The main is Dr_SC. You're guaranteed to get a response from that account for sure. So if you do want to hit that one up, I've got a very good admin on the job there. But otherwise, good luck everyone. Good luck opening week. We've gone from the most exciting month and a half of SuperCoach into the most strenuous, like stressful time in SuperCoach, I think. So it really flips on you quick, but make the most of it. It is a very exciting year this year with templates all out the window. Everyone just moving with what they like the most and backing themselves in. So you'd love to see it. Pistol, did you have any last words of wisdom for people making their teams?
Yeah, if you do want to slide into any DMs to ask any questions, please do it earlier in the week than later. You can't imagine how many questions we get on the Thursday, and it's physically impossible to get through all of them. And then I feel massively guilty for not being able to answer people's questions before deadline. So earlier better, please.
I've got footy training on Thursday, so I will not be answering questions for a 2-hour period while the football is on.
That is a disaster.
Right before the football. So I'm sorry.
How are you going to do your teams when teams drop?
Well, it starts at 6:15, so there's time.
Oh my God, that is stressful.
Not stressful for me. I'm cool as a cucumber. I'm looking forward to it. I love this part of the season. This is where it heats up. Make sure you do question us if you do have anything outstanding. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on the other side. Team reveals, hopefully, dropping
no
next
chance.
week.
No, my team. By the time this podcast comes out, I will have a different team.
100%. That is why we'll be dropping them next week when it's all locked in.
I'm going to be like,
do it this week.
Bruin F6, and my team's going to come out round 1, and it's going to be like Bruin F3, and you're going to be like, what am I talking about?
Nowadays, Cogs M1. I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
It's just like every chance, everything changes in the last week. So
no, but having said that, our YouTube will have a video going up shortly, which is a this or that video, which is just me sitting there deciding between options that people flick to me on the Slack as well. I assume there will be another video out before the end of the week. Hopefully some calming words from Chizo or myself. Pistol, we got to get you on there as well, dude. Come on.
I'm way too stressed.
And then team reveals next week. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll chat to you guys soon.